our guest is someone that's going to be joining us from overseas. So, good morning, and whatever time zone you're at, we just want to welcome you, babe. I'm so happy to be here. So thrilled and excited. Maybe you can give a quick background of what we're doing here.
Well, I'm super excited because I think between the two of us, I tend to be more of the reader, but this is one book, Thrivers, that Edric read ahead of me. And when he was telling me all about it, I got so jealous that when he finished it, I picked it up and also read it. But it was just so amazing. We were so blessed. So when we found out that Dr. Borba was going to be available to do this online talk, we were just so thrilled. So Edric, I think you're going to introduce her. Yeah.
Of course, and we can keep going on and on and on, but we'd love to hear from her. And then we'll have a conversation with her after she shares a little bit of what this Thrivers is all about. So let me introduce her properly. Dr. Borba is an internationally renowned educator, award-winning author, and parenting child expert recognized for her solution-based strategies. I want you to remember that to strengthen children's character and resilience. She's a sought after motivational speaker, spoken in 19 countries and 5 continents. Actually, offline, she was telling us
She's gone to 91 countries.
91 countries. She served as a consultant to hundreds of schools and corporations and has been to the Philippines about 5 times. So if you're joining us and you wanted to come to Philippines, also say, please come to Philippines if you can,
She said
if
she,
you have access to chat,
what did
right?
she say? She said she loves the Philippines.
She does. So she might just come again as we engage her. But in the meantime, we wanted to be flexible for all of you because we know you're all busy. So as I wind this down, she's a former classroom and special education teacher with a wide range of teaching experience. And she lives in Palm Springs, California, with her husband and has 3 grown sons. And how many grandchildren did she say earlier?
Is it 2 or 3? She can correct
Three.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll be done to correct that. So, ladies and gentlemen,
It's
moms,
2, 6, and 4.
there you go.
Yeah.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, wherever you're watching, let's please welcome our dear Dr. Michele Borba.
Oh, golly. Good evening from California to you. I am so honored to be here. As I said before, this is, like it's my seventh time actually, 2 Zooms and 5 in-persons to the Philippines. And I absolutely adore you all. I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but I do share one thing in common. We all are concerned about our children. We love them dearly, and oh, how we want them to be able to thrive. And that's been my quest for quite a while until I began to see that there was a pattern of no matter where I was, including the Philippines, anxiety and stress was going up on our kids. By the way, they're happy, they're very well educated, and they're smart. Don't tell the kids, but their IQs are actually better than ours these days. But we're also seeing a mental health crisis. Then what I did was look at, so what are we going to do about it? How can we flip these and turn this around so our children do turn out to be the best they can be? And what I found is that there's really 7 characteristics that do make a difference in our children's lives. So what I want to do this I keep saying this afternoon is share with you what we can do to raise up a strong generation. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. For some kids, it's to be able to get over that they didn't do so well in the test. For other children, it may well be that they're a little bit more doomed because they maybe didn't make the team, where other kids are hitting major adversity. And what I began to discover was that no matter what part of research I was looking at, 7 character strengths kept coming up over and over again. And that's what I want to talk to you about in a very short amount of time. Each chapter is one of those strengths in the book Thrivers. But just so that we're all on board together and make this practical for you, if you have a piece of paper, do me a favor. Right now, take a piece of paper or your phone, and as quick as you can, fold the paper into 8 squares. What I then want you to do is number them off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a star. And if you're with me, what my goal is to be able to give you just a little inkling about what each of these 7 strengths are, why they matter, whether your child is 6 months or 18, or you're worried about your spouse. It is never too late to teach thriving abilities. That's the first thing. It makes no difference what your zip code is, what your race or nationality is. What we do know is that these are going to make a difference, not only in our children's classrooms performance, but also there in life. So do me a favor and go with me, because what I want to do is share these with you. And it starts with confidence. Confidence is the ability to Just know who you are as a human being. And it's a core piece of reducing anxiety, and it's core to lifelong happiness. What we want our children to be able to know is who you are, not what we want them to be. And what we discover is that there's some pretty darn easy ways to help boost our children's confidence, regardless of the age. Again, what your job is just to think about what I'm saying. And if there's one idea you like, write down the one idea. You can find out the rest of the ideas later on as you're reading Thrivers, or just don't go trying all of this with your kids, but just use the one idea for each one, or at the end, the single most important thing you want to try more than ever. So, how do you know what your children's strengths or talents are? What I want you to do is be one of the most important parts of being a good parent is to watch each of your kids a little closer. In fact, I think one of the most wonderful things you can do as strategy one is just simply take a 3x5 card and watch each of your kids in different times of the day and see where they're a little more tenacious. A is where's their attention span just a little bit longer. L is which part of their lessons do they learn easier? E is where is there an eagerness when you say it's time to go to soccer, or it's time to go to the library? You see this excitement, this eagerness, and you see a need. When you say it's time for soccer, they get excited about it, and there's a tone in their voice that's really excited. Now, what does that have to do with resilience? What we've discovered is one of the highest correlations of children who bounce back is they have a hobby that's healthy. When stress comes, whether they're in college or now, they're able to go to to that strength. It could be knitting, it could be reading, it could be basketball hoops outside. But they've also discovered something else, parent, that's absolutely wonderful. Some of the best researchers in the world have been tracking children who do excel in both life and learning. And what they found is that when your kids are happiest and when you are happiest, parent, is actually when you're in something called flow. University of Chicago found that when you're engaged in something that is your talent or your real eagerness, whether it's now or your job later on, that is one of the going to be one of the best stress reducers there is. So my first point is be a talent scout. Watch your kid a little closer over the next few days and figure out where's their talents. If you're stumped, you're going to be getting an asset at the end of this where you can lick on. It's also on inside Thrivers where there's 120 strengths. You can look at it and say, which one is my child? And if I've got three boys, they're as different as night and day. And I bet you your kids are as different as night and day. What's special about each one? That's going to be one of the greatest gifts you'd give to your child. And that's what confidence is all about. So the first thing is let's help our kids learn to shine. They're going to thrive better if we identify what that strength is. By the way, if your children are young, research also says we need to give them a range of possibilities, not do what, okay, I did soccer when I was your age, or I took this when I was your age. If we give them a range of just ideas and watch to see what they gravitate towards, what's their actual passion, you're going to be able to help your child be able to thrive from now to the rest of their lives. And that's number one. Number two, relationships matter. Social competence is highly correlated to not only happiness, but also we do know learning in a classroom, those children who have this thing called empathy, teachers will say they're deeper learners. The other thing about empathy is that this is a child who's going to have less stress because he has connection with someone. Now, kids don't need 50,000 friends, but they do need a couple of loyal friends that they can turn to. We're also looking at an AI world, parent, where a lot of our kids are looking down, not up. And as a result, their relationships are going, and we are seeing an upsurge that we've never seen that's unprecedented in the world, and that's loneliness. When loneliness comes, anxiety goes up. Empathy. Do you know that our kids are hardwired for it at birth? But we can also cultivate it. And here's a couple little things you may want to consider. The first thing is, and I know you're listening to this as a range from having very young children or older children, but the first thing you want to do for empathy is start talking feelings and start talking feelings far more naturally with your children. And that means hey, you look so happy, or wow, you look frustrated. What we've discovered is little ones, they know happy, sad, angry, and mad. But as they get older, or scared, as they get older, start and continuing to talk feelings with them. You can watch the movie Inside Out, or as you're reading a book with your child, how do you think that character feels? What we've discovered is when they're young, we can say, how are you feeling today? And what do you need in order to feel better? But as they get older, one of the greatest empathy builders, says Martin Hoffman from NYU, is to be able to step into somebody else's shoes and say, how would I feel if that were me? What would I need? That is absolutely Humanity 101, parents. And that is a glorious concept that we could be doing by just using the formula feels plus needs and keep using it over and over again. Here's another little hint. They've discovered that children who read, and I'm talking about from Wonder to Harry Potter, do they get into literary fiction, they're far more empathetic. If you're in a book club, do you know that you're far more empathetic just because literary fiction helps you see where the character's coming from? We're also looking at a across the world trend that our children are reading for pleasure far less. So read with your child. Don't stop reading out loud. If you're young with the little guys, then put a blanket over your dining room table and make it into a reading fort. Just get in there and enjoy reading together. Let me just give you a hint. I love all kinds of books, but one of my favorite ones is The Wednesday Surprise. Now, it's a story about a grandmother and a granddaughter. Oh, they're bonded for life, and they have this special surprise they're going to be planning for daddy. Now, this is an empathy based book, and you're going to see in a minute. So, watch what happens. You read it to the child. What do you think daddy's birthday surprise is going to be? You see, every day grandma brings a bag of books to the little girl's bedroom, and they close the door and they read and they read and they read and they read, and they're not going to tell anybody what they're doing. And then you can ask your child, what do you think the surprise is going to be? And then you're going to get the surprise of your life. Because you see, when it comes to the end, daddy gets the surprise, and so too will you. For his birthday, his daughter has planned the best surprise you can imagine. His mom, grandma, stands up and reads for the very first time out loud to her son. Grandma wasn't illiterate. It was the granddaughter, Miss Empathy, who's decided to teach grandmother to read. Get a Kleenex when you get through a book like that. But that's what you're looking for. How would you feel if that were you? The more you read this kind of book, the more empathy starts to charge up. And the other thing that happens is self absorption goes down because kids begin to get into the shoes of somebody besides themselves. And that's what empathy is. It's we, not me. And we need to do a lot of work on that. There's lots of books you can choose. Be crafty and figure out what's piquing your child's interest. Self control. That's number 3. And again, I'm giving you simple tips so that you can walk away with them. But number 3 is self control. And there isn't a pediatrician anywhere in the world that says this is the one we better zero in on as parents, and we better zero in on well, because self control can be regulated. But if there isn't a way to cope, then anxiety or stress starts to mount and mount and mount until pretty soon anxiety goes up. And pretty soon, that's why we're seeing such a rise in depression worldwide. Now, we can start when our children are younger and we'll be the moderator. But one of the best ways you can teach self control to your child is you be in control yourself. Take the deep breath and say, ooh, mommy's getting a little upset. Mommy better take the slow, deep breath. And then along the way, there's other things you can do. I think one of the best things you can do is create a calm down space in your home. This is just simple. It could be in a teen's bedroom. It could be under the stairwell for a little guy. And what you do along the way is you ask your child to think of, what do you need in that calm down space? Do you know that the number one time that kids are most likely to drop out of school their entire life is end of freshman year, first semester of college? University professors, and I've spent a lot of time talking to the presidents, are saying they're seeing a new range of kids. They don't have coping strategies. And so when they get their first B plus, they're doomed. What we want to do is give them a range of what could you do. Now, for some kids, it could be a book. For other kids, it could be a glitter jar. For some kids, for little ones, maybe it's a stuffed animal or their blankie. But when you start to see them needing to calm down, not when they're having the exorcism, but in the middle of starting to calm down, that's when you say, I see that you're getting a little, then name the term, frustrated or upset. You want to go the calm down space? And when you go to the calm down space, you've already taught your child how to use it. So maybe this is something for the next month. You can say, I'm going to start helping my child think of coping strategies that work for him or her. The next thing I would really like you to do is tune into your child a little closer because each child has their own unique signs. We wait too often until the meltdown happens, but if you tune into your child, you'll begin to see a pattern. And some parents, what they actually do is that they start to track it on a calendar. They start to see that maybe it's around 3 o'clock, my child's getting stressed, or maybe it's at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then you go, why? What's going on? 3 o'clock, they skip the nap, 8 o'clock, they're about ready to have a time test. You'll begin to see a pattern for your child. The other thing is you'll begin to predict your child's exact stress signs. Is it a tighter jaw? Is it a little bit clingier towards you? Can you see their little heart fluctuate? Or they're starting to grind their teeth? Or are they becoming a little more irritable, a little more edge? Listen, stress is normal. What we've got to do is help our children learn to identify their stress sign. That's what we do when they're teens. When they're little, we become the moderator. So maybe that's what you do for the next month, is just tune into your child. And then what you can do as they get older, this is the ACT, which is A is start assessing your stress sign. As a family, you just make it okay and permissible that everybody shares their stress signs. Daddy does, mommy does, brother does, sister does. So you begin to say it's not just Alex who's got the problem, but let's all assess you're good, like you're getting stressed. Then the C is take slow, deep breaths. Take slow, deep breaths. It's the fastest way to calm down. Your breath needs to come from deep down in your abdomen, like you're riding up an elevator. Then you hold it. If it's slow and deep, I mean, just that one breath, you can't believe how much that just did me. Like, wow. And then talk positively to yourself, meaning calm down, or I got this. Each of these in Thrivers is a skill. Parents, there's dozens of skills. Don't you dare try to teach them all at once. Your job is to think of this as 18 years. What does your child need right now to be the best they can be to thrive? And you keep adding the habits on. If you practice them a minute a day for around 21 days or longer, what you'll discover is that it actually becomes a lifelong habit and your child will be able to do it without you. And what if you have a 5-year-old? I was in a kindergarten classroom and this is what I saw. The teacher was teaching little ones how to do slow, deep breathing, just like I showed you. But she discovered they were breathing too quickly, so they were kind of hyperventilating. So what she did is get turtles and froggies and put it on their tummies and then do slow, slow, deep with soothing music. You could do this at home as well. But the froggy is to make it slow and deep so that if it's too fast, the teacher would say, no, not so fast. You're scaring Froggy. Slow, deep. I'm telling you, parents, within about 3 minutes, half the class was asleep. Find the habit that works for you. You can do deep breathing like this, and you could also pray at the same time. Do you know that faith is highly correlated to resilience if you do it together as a family so your child can do it without you? That's 3. Do you see how these are all connecting together, or they will in a little bit? It seems like a lot on your plate, but some of you are going to say, but I'm already doing that. I'm going to say, right. So identify which of these you're not doing, and you've got a lot of time to do it because it's 1 to 3 minutes a day of practicing the same thing until it becomes automatic.